What if the words you whispered before falling asleep tonight were powerful enough to command angels to stand guard over your life? What if there existed an ancient prayer written 3,000 years ago in the wilderness of Israel that soldiers carried into battle, that mothers spoke over dying children, that a condemned man once recited in the dark and somehow walked out alive? Tonight, we uncover the psalm that has been called the Soldier's Prayer, the Covenant of Protection, the 91st Psalm. And by the end of this story, you will understand why so many people refuse to fall asleep without saying it first.
In the ancient hill country of Judah, under a sky thick with stars and silence, a shepherd turned king once sat awake through the night. He had known betrayal from his own son. He had known the cold terror of men hunting him through caves and ravines. He had known what it was like to close his eyes, not knowing if he would open them again. And it was from this place of raw vulnerability that words began to form, not words of despair, but words of fierce, unshakable trust. He who dwells in the shelter of the Most High will abide in the shadow of the Almighty. Psalm 91:1. This was not poetry written from comfort. It was forged in fear, and that is precisely why it endures to this day. The ancient Hebrews understood something modern minds often forget. The night was not merely dark, it was dangerous. Wild animals prowled beyond the firelight. Enemy raiders moved under cover of darkness. Disease spread quietly while the body slept unguarded. To sleep in the ancient world was an act of vulnerability, a surrender of control. And so this psalm was not written as a pleasant devotional. It was written as a battle plan for the soul, a declaration spoken over the hours when a person could least protect themselves. I will say to the Lord, my refuge and my fortress, my God in whom I trust. Psalm 91:2. As the psalm unfolds, the imagery becomes almost unbearably vivid. The one who trusts in God is described as being covered with his pinions, sheltered under his wings. Psalm 91:4. The picture of a mother bird drawing her young close against the cold and the predator alike. This was intimate language for an intimate God, not a distant deity ruling from far above, but one who drew near in the darkest hour of a frightened heart. But the psalm does not shy away from naming the terror itself. You will not fear the terror of the night, nor the arrow that flies by day, nor the pestilence that stalks in darkness, nor the destruction that wastes at noonday. Psalm 91:5-6. 4 dangers spanning night and day, seen and unseen, sudden and slow. This was not a promise that danger did not exist. It was a promise that danger did not have the final word. Ancient Israel lived surrounded by plague, war, and famine. To speak this psalm was to stand in defiance of the very forces threatening to consume them.
There is a haunting layer beneath this psalm, one many overlook. Centuries after it was written, in a wilderness far from Judah, a man was led out to be tested, not by disease or war, but by temptation itself. Scripture tells us that the tempter twisted these very words, quoting them to Jesus in an attempt to provoke him into forcing God's hand. He will command his angels concerning you to guard you, lest you strike your foot against a stone. Matthew 4:6, quoting Psalm 91:11-12. It is one of the only psalms weaponized by darkness itself in an attempt to manipulate the Son of God. And yet Jesus did not doubt the psalm. He refused to let it be twisted into a test of God rather than an act of trust. This reveals something profound. Even the darkest forces recognize the power contained in these verses. The question was never whether the promise was real. The question was whether it would be trusted rightly or exploited wrongly. Return now to the psalm's central declaration, the verse so often spoken over the sick, the frightened, the dying. 1,000 may fall at your side, 10,000 at your right hand, but it will not come near you. Psalm 91:7. Ancient rabbis debated this verse for generations. How could such devastation surround someone and yet leave them untouched? Some understood it not as a guarantee against all suffering, but as a deeper truth, that ultimate ruin, the kind that severs a soul from God forever, could never reach the one who dwelt in his shelter. Physical hardship might still come, even death itself might come, but the deepest catastrophe, spiritual destruction, would not. The psalm's final movement shifts voice entirely. Where the first 8 verses speak about God, the final verses speak as God, in the first person, a divine oath sealing everything that came before. Because he holds fast to me in love, I will deliver him. I will protect him, because he knows my name. When he calls to me, I will answer him. I will be with him in trouble. Psalm 91:14-15. This is covenant language, the same weight of promise God spoke to Abraham, to Moses, to David. It was not a superstition to be recited like a charm. It was a relationship, hinging on one word, knows. Not merely believes in, not merely fears, but knows. An intimacy earned through trust across long nights of uncertainty.
And so the psalm closes not with the absence of trouble, but with presence through it. I will be with him in trouble. I will rescue him and honor him. With long life I will satisfy him and show him my salvation. Psalm 91, 15-16. Salvation here reaches beyond a single night's safety. It points towards something eternal, a deliverance that outlasts the grave itself. For 3,000 years, soldiers marching into uncertain battles have carried these words folded into their pockets. The dying have had them whispered into their ears as breath grew shallow. Parents have stood over cribs in the dead of night, reciting verse 11 under their breath. For he will command his angels concerning you, to guard you in all your ways. Psalm 91, 11. Why does a single psalm carry such enduring weight across millennia and continents? Perhaps because it does not promise a life free of darkness. It promises a presence within it.
Tonight, as the light fades and the world grows quiet, the same question remains that echoed through that ancient wilderness thousands of years ago. Not whether the darkness will come, for it always does, but whose shelter you will choose to dwell in when it does. If this story moved something in you, don't just scroll past it. Say this psalm over your own life tonight before you close your eyes. Share it with someone who needs to hear that they are not alone in the dark. And if you want more stories like this one, stories that bring Scripture to life the way it was meant to be experienced, subscribe, turn on notifications, and stay close, because the next story we uncover together might be the one you needed most.